I never thought I would see a man fire someone for dying, but that is exactly what walked into my courtroom on a Tuesday morning in November. His name was Marcus Thompson, 38 years old. He had worked as a software engineer at Nextech Solutions for 11 years. Marcus was not just good at his job, he was exceptional. The kind of employee who stayed late to fix problems, who mentored younger workers, who never complained when asked to take on extra projects. His performance reviews were perfect, every single year. His manager wrote that Marcus was the best engineer on the team, maybe the best the company had ever hired. Marcus had a wife named Jennifer. They had been married for 14 years. They had 2 children. Emma was 12. Noah was 9. They lived in a modest house in the suburbs. Nothing fancy, but it was theirs. They had a small yard where the kids played, a kitchen where they ate dinner together every night, a home filled with love and laughter and the ordinary happiness of a family that worked hard and took care of each other. Then Marcus got sick. It started with fatigue. He thought maybe he was working too hard, not sleeping enough. But the fatigue got worse. He started losing weight, having night sweats, feeling pain in his bones. Jennifer convinced him to see a doctor. They ran tests, then more. Finally, the diagnosis came: acute myeloid leukemia, blood cancer, aggressive, life-threatening. The doctors said Marcus needed treatment immediately, chemotherapy, possibly a bone marrow transplant, the kind of treatment that would take months, that would leave him weak and sick, that would make working impossible for a while. But the doctors also said there was hope. With treatment, Marcus could beat this. He could survive. He could watch his children grow up. But he needed time to fight, time to heal. Marcus told his boss at Nextech, a man named David Richardson. David was the vice president of engineering. He had hired Marcus 11 years ago, had praised his work countless times, had given him raises and promotions. Marcus thought David would understand, would support him through this crisis, would help him navigate medical leave so he could focus on getting better. If you have ever trusted someone who betrayed that trust in your darkest moment, if you have ever been kicked when you were already down, then please subscribe to this channel. We are a family here fighting for justice together. We share these stories because people like Marcus deserve to have their voices heard. Join us now. David listened to Marcus explain his diagnosis. Marcus said he would need to take medical leave, that his doctors recommended at least 6 months, that he had short-term disability insurance through the company, that he qualified for Family and Medical Leave Act protection, which meant his job would be waiting when he recovered. Marcus had done his research. He knew his rights. He had earned this protection through 11 years of excellent service. David said he understood, told Marcus to focus on his health, to do whatever he needed to beat the cancer. Marcus left that meeting feeling relieved, scared about the cancer, but relieved that his job was secure, that his family would have health insurance, that he could fight this disease without worrying about losing everything. Marcus started chemotherapy the following week. It was brutal. The drugs made him violently sick. He lost his hair, lost 40 pounds, spent days in the hospital when his immune system crashed. But he fought. Jennifer was with him every step, holding his hand during treatments, cleaning him up when he was too weak to do it himself, telling him over and over that he was going to make it, that their family needed him, that he had to keep fighting. 2 months into treatment, Marcus got a letter from Nextech, from Human Resources. It said his employment was being terminated, effective immediately. The reason given was workforce restructuring. His position was being eliminated. The letter said he would receive 2 weeks severance pay, that his health insurance would end in 30 days. That was it. 11 years of service, 11 years of excellence, and Marcus was fired while lying in a hospital bed receiving chemotherapy. Your support helps us share more stories like Marcus's, stories about ordinary people crushed by the powerful and wealthy. Please subscribe. Every subscription tells us you care about standing up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. Jennifer called Human Resources. She was crying. She explained that Marcus was in the hospital, that he was on protected medical leave, that the law said they could not fire him for being sick. The HR representative was cold. She said the termination was not related to Marcus's medical condition. It was a business decision. The position was eliminated. Marcus could apply for other openings at the company if he wanted. but his current job no longer existed. Jennifer knew something was wrong. She started investigating. She called Marcus's former colleagues. She asked questions. She found out the truth. Marcus's position had not been eliminated. It had been filled by someone new, a younger engineer, someone who made less money than Marcus, someone who was healthy and could work long hours without needing medical leave. This was not workforce restructuring. This was targeted termination. Nextech had fired Marcus because he was sick, because his cancer was inconvenient, because keeping him on medical leave cost the company money in disability payments, because they saw an opportunity to replace an expensive senior engineer with a cheaper alternative, and they did not care that Marcus was fighting for his life, did not care that his family depended on that job, did not care that this was illegal and immoral and cruel. Jennifer found a lawyer, a woman named Sarah Kim, who specialized in employment discrimination cases. Sarah looked at the evidence. She was angry. She said this was one of the most blatant cases of disability discrimination she had ever seen. She agreed to take the case. She filed a lawsuit against Nextech Solutions for wrongful termination, disability discrimination, and violation of the Family and Medical Leave Act. The case took 8 months to get to trial, 8 months while Marcus fought cancer without health insurance. Jennifer had to buy insurance on the marketplace. It was expensive, very expensive. The premiums were $1,200 a month. The deductible was $10,000. They burned through their savings. They borrowed money from family. They set up a crowdfunding page. Strangers donated, friends donated. The community rallied around them. But it was not enough. Medical bills were crushing them. If you believe that corporations should not be allowed to fire dying employees to save money, if you think that basic human decency should matter more than profit, then join our community. Subscribe now. We need people who still believe in doing what is right. Marcus kept fighting. He finished his chemotherapy. The cancer went into remission. The doctors were cautiously optimistic, but the stress of losing his job, of fighting the lawsuit, of watching his family struggle financially, had taken a toll. Marcus looked older than 38. The cancer and the stress had aged him, but he was alive, and he was determined to get justice. The case came to my courtroom. Marcus sat at the plaintiff's table with Sarah Kim. He wore a suit that was too big for him now. He had lost so much weight. His hair had grown back, but it was thin. He looked fragile, but his eyes were strong, determined. Across the courtroom sat the lawyers for Nextech. 3 of them, expensive suits, expensive briefcases. Behind them sat the CEO of Nextech, a man named Christopher Vail. Christopher Vail was 49 years old. He had founded Nextech 15 years ago. The company had grown rapidly. They did cloud computing solutions for big corporations. They employed 2,000 people. They made hundreds of millions in revenue. Christopher personally was worth about $800 million. He had houses in 3 states. He drove luxury cars. He wore watches that cost more than most people's annual salary. He was featured in business magazines talking about innovation and leadership and company culture. Sarah Kim presented Marcus's case. She showed his performance reviews, 11 years of excellence. She showed the medical records, the diagnosis, the treatment plan, the doctor's letters saying Marcus needed medical leave. She showed the documentation of Marcus's conversation with David Richardson, where he explained his situation and was told his job was protected. Then she showed the termination letter, sent while Marcus was in the hospital, claiming his position was eliminated. Then Sarah brought the hammer down. She presented evidence that Marcus's position was not eliminated. It was filled. She had the job posting, the hiring documents, the new employee's start date. Marcus was terminated on March 15th. The new engineer started on March 22nd, 1 week later, doing the exact same job Marcus had been doing for $30,000 less in annual salary. Help an old judge's mission to remind the world that the law should protect the vulnerable, not enable the powerful to exploit them. Subscribe to this channel. Your voice matters in this fight. Sarah called David Richardson to testify. He squirmed on the stand. Sarah asked him directly, "Did you fire Marcus Thompson because he had cancer?" David said no. He said it was a business decision. Sarah showed him the timeline. Marcus diagnosed in January, told David in February, terminated in March, new person hired in March. David tried to explain it away, said the decisions were unrelated, that the timing was coincidental. Sarah asked, did Marcus's medical leave cost the company money? David admitted yes, the company paid short-term disability. Sarah asked, was saving that money a factor in eliminating his position? David hesitated. He said, all business decisions involve cost considerations. Sarah said, so you eliminated a cancer patient's job to save money on disability payments? David said that was not how he would characterize it, but he did not deny it. Then Sarah called Christopher Vail, the billionaire CEO. He walked to the stand with confidence. He was used to being in charge, used to people agreeing with him, used to getting his way. Sarah asked him, did you approve the decision to terminate Marcus Thompson? He said he did not personally approve individual terminations. That was handled by managers. Sarah asked, did you know Marcus Thompson had cancer when his position was eliminated? Christopher said he might have been aware. There were a lot of employees. He could not remember every situation. Sarah showed him an email from David Richardson to Christopher Vail, dated March 1st, 2 weeks before Marcus was fired. The email said, Marcus Thompson on medical leave for cancer treatment. Disability payments costing approximately $40,000 annually. Recommend position elimination and replacement with junior engineer at lower salary. Estimated savings $100,000 per year. Christopher had replied to that email. He had written, approved, move forward. We need voices like yours to stand against this kind of calculated cruelty. Subscribe and show that we will not accept corporations treating sick employees as disposable. Join us now. The courtroom went silent. Sarah said, Mr. Vail, you personally approved firing Marcus Thompson while he was fighting cancer so your company could save money. Is that correct? Christopher tried to backtrack. He said he got hundreds of emails a day. He could not remember that specific one. Maybe he had not read it carefully. Sarah said, but you replied approved. Christopher said, sometimes he approved things without full context. Sarah said, so you approved firing a cancer patient without even thinking about it, without considering the human cost. Christopher's lawyer objected. I overruled it. I wanted to hear his answer. Christopher said, I run a business. We have to make difficult decisions. If we kept every employee who got sick on the payroll indefinitely, we would go bankrupt. Sarah said, Marcus worked for you for 11 years. He was one of your best employees. He was not asking for indefinite support. He was asking for 6 months of protected medical leave that the law requires you to give him. Christopher said, the law has loopholes. We followed the law. Sarah said, you followed the letter of the law while violating the spirit. You fired a dying man to save money you do not even need. Mr. Vail, how much did you personally make last year? Christopher said that was private. Sarah said, according to public filings, your compensation was $47 million. Is that accurate? Christopher said approximately. Sarah said, so you made $47 million while firing a cancer patient to save your company $100,000. Does that seem reasonable to you? Christopher said, business is not about what seems reasonable. It is about efficiency and competitiveness. Sarah said, what about humanity? What about compassion? What about basic decency? Christopher said, those are nice ideals, but they do not run a company. I have responsibilities to shareholders, to investors, to the bottom line. Thank you for being here, for listening to this story, for caring about people like Marcus who deserve so much better. Please subscribe and stay with us. We are building something important together. Sarah turned to me. She said, Your Honor, this is why we are here. Because a billionaire valued $100,000 more than a man's life. Because a company saw a cancer patient as an opportunity to cut costs. Because the law protects employers who hide behind technicalities while destroying families. I am asking this court to hold Nextech accountable, to award Marcus Thompson damages for wrongful termination, for discrimination, for emotional distress, and to send a message that this kind of behavior is unacceptable. Nextech's lawyer gave his closing. He argued that the company had the right to make staffing decisions, that Marcus could have applied for other positions, that the termination was legal under their interpretation of the restructuring exception to FMLA. It was a technical argument, cold, calculated, heartless. I called a recess. I went to my chambers. I sat at my desk and I thought about Marcus Thompson, about him lying in a hospital bed, receiving poison to kill the cancer in his body, and receiving that termination letter, about Jennifer trying to hold her family together while her husband fought for his life, and their financial security evaporated, about Emma and Noah watching their father get sicker and their parents get more worried. I thought about my own brother. He died 7 years ago, pancreatic cancer. He was 43. He had 3 kids. He worked in sales. When he got sick, his company did the opposite of what Nextech did. They told him to focus on treatment. They kept him on payroll even when he could not work. They extended his benefits. They supported his family. My brother still died. The cancer was too aggressive, but he died knowing his employer cared, knowing his family would be okay, knowing he mattered as more than just a line item on a budget. That is what Christopher Vail did not understand, that employees are not just numbers. They are people. They have families. They have dignity. They deserve to be treated with basic human respect, especially when they are sick, especially when they are vulnerable, especially when they have given years of loyal service. Be part of something meaningful. Subscribe to this channel and join thousands who believe that justice means protecting workers from exploitation. We need you with us in this fight. When I returned to the courtroom, I asked Marcus to stand. He stood slowly. He still was not back to full strength. I said, "Mr. Thompson, I want you to know that I see you. I see 11 years of excellent work. I see a man who loved his job and did it well. I see a father who fought cancer while worrying about how to pay for his children's needs. I see someone who deserved better than what Nextech gave you." I turned to Christopher Vail. I said, "Mr. Vail, stand up." He stood. He looked annoyed, like this was all beneath him. I said, "Mr. Vail, you are worth $800 million. Your company makes hundreds of millions in revenue, and you fired a dying man to save $100,000. You looked at an employee who had given you 11 years of loyalty and service, and you saw a cost to be eliminated. That is not business. That is cruelty." I said, "You tried to hide behind legal technicalities. You claimed this was restructuring, but the evidence is clear. You fired Marcus Thompson because he had cancer, because his medical leave was expensive, because you could replace him with someone cheaper. That violates the Americans with Disabilities Act. It violates the Family and Medical Leave Act. It violates basic human decency." Christopher said, "Your Honor, we have a right to run our business as we see fit." I said, "Not when running your business means discriminating against sick employees, not when it means violating federal law, not when it means destroying a family to add a trivial amount to your already obscene profits. Together we can inspire change, one story at a time, one verdict at a time. Subscribe and help us build a community that demands corporations treat employees as human beings. Your subscription creates real impact." I said, "Here is my ruling. I find Nextech Solutions liable for wrongful termination, disability discrimination, and FMLA violations. I am awarding Marcus Thompson $2 million in compensatory damages. That includes back pay, front pay for lost future earnings, medical expenses that would have been covered by insurance, and damages for emotional distress." The courtroom erupted. Marcus looked shocked. Christopher looked furious. I was not done. I said, "I am also awarding $5 million in punitive damages. Punitive damages are meant to punish wrongdoing and deter future violations. Mr. Vail, you need to learn that you cannot treat people this way. $5 million is a fraction of your personal wealth, but maybe it will get your attention. Maybe it will make you think twice before firing the next cancer patient." I continued, "I am also ordering Nextech to implement new policies. You will revise your medical leave procedures. You will train managers on disability discrimination laws. You will establish oversight to prevent this from happening again, and you will rehire Marcus Thompson if he wants to return, with fullback seniority, with a public apology, with a guarantee that he will never be retaliated against for bringing this lawsuit." Christopher's lawyers were objecting. I ignored them. I said, "Mr. Vail, you built a company worth billions. You have achieved financial success that most people can only dream about, but you failed at something more important. You failed at being a decent human being. You failed at treating your employees with respect. You failed at recognizing that people are more important than profits. This verdict is an opportunity for you to change, to do better, to build a company culture that values humanity as much as efficiency." I looked at Marcus. I said, Mr. Thompson, I hope this judgment helps your family recover financially. I hope it validates your fight for justice. I hope it reminds you that you matter, that your service mattered, that what was done to you was wrong, and now it has been made right. If you think employees who get sick deserve protection, not termination, please subscribe. Help us spread this message to everyone who needs to hear it. Marcus was crying, Jennifer was crying, Sarah Kim was hugging them both. Christopher Vail stormed out of the courtroom. His lawyers followed. They would appeal. I knew they would. But I had been careful. My ruling was supported by the evidence and the law. It would stand. After everyone left, Marcus came to the bench. He could barely speak. He said, "Thank you, Your Honor. I thought I had lost everything. My job, my savings, my dignity. You gave it back." I said, "No, Marcus. You never lost your dignity. You fought cancer. You fought for justice. You protected your family. That is dignity. That is strength. I just made sure you were compensated for what was taken from you." Nextech did appeal. They lost. Every level of appeals court upheld my verdict. They eventually paid the $7 million. Marcus used some to pay off medical bills, some to rebuild savings, some for his kids' education funds. He did not go back to Nextech. He found a job at a different tech company, one with better values, one that treats employees like human beings. Marcus is healthy now, 5 years cancer-free. Emma is 17. Noah is 14. They are good kids, happy kids. They watched their father fight cancer and corporate injustice and win both battles. That is a powerful lesson about courage and perseverance. Christopher Vail is still CEO of Nextech. His net worth is now over $1 billion. I do not know if he learned anything from this case. I hope he did. But even if he did not, other companies learned. The case got national attention, news stories, social media. Business schools use it as a case study about what not to do. Companies updated their policies, not all of them, but some. Progress is slow, but it happens. Subscribe if you believe in people like Marcus who refuse to give up even when everything seems lost. Your subscription supports stories that remind us courage and justice can prevail. I think about this case often. It reminds me why I became a judge, not to enforce rules mechanically, but to use the law as a tool for justice, to protect people who cannot protect themselves, to stand up to bullies even when those bullies wear expensive suits and have billions of dollars. Marcus Thompson deserved better than what Nextech gave him, but he got justice in the end. That matters. It does not undo the suffering, does not give back the year of stress and financial crisis, but it holds wrongdoers accountable. It compensates victims. It deters future abuse. That is what the law is supposed to do. To anyone watching who has been fired for getting sick, you have rights. Federal law protects you. Document everything. Keep emails. Keep medical records. Find a good employment lawyer. Fight back. You are not powerless. Companies like Nextech count on people being too scared or too broke to fight. Prove them wrong. And to any business owners watching, learn from Christopher Vail's mistake. Treat your employees like human beings. Support them when they get sick. Value loyalty and service. Build a culture of compassion. It is not just the right thing to do morally. It is good business. Employees who feel valued work harder, stay longer, build better companies. Cruelty might save money in the short term, but it destroys trust and morale and reputation. Marcus's case cost Nextech $7 million plus immeasurable damage to their brand. Supporting him through his illness would have cost $100,000. The math is simple. Thank you for watching this story. Thank you for caring about Marcus and about every worker who has been exploited by their employer. Subscribe to this channel and join our family fighting for justice and dignity for all workers. Together we can change corporate culture. Together we can demand better treatment. Together we can make sure that what happened to Marcus becomes impossible. One story at a time, one verdict at a time, one subscription at a time. Subscribe today and be part of the movement demanding that companies value people over profits. That sick employees deserve compassion, not termination. That basic human decency should guide business decisions. Marcus fought for justice and won. Now we fight for everyone like him. Join us.
Reloading. Cover me.
Give me 5 minutes. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. If you're a student who knows what to do, but somehow never does it consistently, this video is for you. Because 2026 is coming whether you are ready or not. And if nothing changes, next year will look exactly like this one. Same stress, same last-minute panic, same promises to do better next time. Stay with me. I will not motivate you. I will lock you in. You're not lazy. You're tired. Your brain is overloaded. Deadlines, pressure, expectations, phone addiction, comparison. You wake up already behind. You plan the day, then somehow the day disappears. And at night, that quiet guilt hits. I could have done more. I know that feeling, and that's why this works. Here's the real reason you can't lock in. You don't lack motivation. You lack structure that protects your focus. Your brain hates uncertainty. When a task feels big, unclear, or emotional, your brain delays it to protect you. That's procrastination, not laziness, self-defense. So, we stop fighting the brain. We design around it. Your entire year is decided in the first hour of your day, not your motivation, your inputs. If the first thing you touch is your phone, your brain enters reaction mode. Dopamine spikes, attention drops, focus is gone. Do this instead, starting tomorrow. Wake up, do not touch your phone, drink water, sit somewhere quiet, write one task on paper. Only one. Your brain locks in when it sees clarity. One task removes overwhelm. Science calls this cognitive narrowing. Less options equals more action. Finish that one task. Momentum starts. Once the day starts moving, you must protect it. Afternoons, the 90-minute rule. Students fail here. Afternoons are where discipline dies. Energy drops, mind wanders. You take a break that lasts 2 hours. Here's the fix. Your brain can focus deeply for 90 minutes max. After that, performance crashes, so stop forcing long sessions. Do this. 45 minutes focused work, 10 minutes break. Repeat once, then stop. No guilt, no overworking. Burnout kills consistency. Consistency builds success. Lock this in and your productivity doubles. You don't need to work harder than everyone else. You just need to work cleaner. Afternoon, the identity shift. This is the most important part. At night, most students scroll, distract, escape. But your brain is most suggestible before sleep, so we use that. Before sleeping, ask yourself one question. Did I act like the person I want to become? Not perfect, just honest. Then say this silently. I am someone who shows up even when it's hard. This is identity-based psychology. Your brain aligns actions with self-image. Do this daily and behavior follows. Now, let me give you the rule that changes everything. The lock-in rule for 2026. No 0 days. That's it. Every single day, do something, even small, that moves you forward. Study 10 minutes, read 2 pages, write 5 lines. Progress compounds silently. Miss 1 day? Fine. Miss 2? Dangerous. Miss 3? Identity collapses. No 0 days locks your future self in place. You deserve a life where you trust yourself again, where you keep promises to yourself, where effort finally shows results. 2026 doesn't need a new you. It needs a consistent you. Give me 5 minutes a day. Not motivation, not perfection, just structure, just honesty, just effort. If this video helped you feel understood, hit like. If you want more content that actually changes student life, subscribe. And share this with a friend who keeps saying, I'll start next year. This is the year you lock in.